attending this session and for staying this late. I'm super excited actually to be with such a great audience to talk about how to build a strong talent pipeline. So at first, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Mohammed Radaidi. I'm a recruitment product consultant working at LinkedIn. I partner with HR recruitment talent acquisition leaders to make them more successful. And I help them to source, attract, and hire, return the best talent successfully through our talent solutions. Excellent. So let me just walk you through the agenda of today. So today we're going to talk about the main keywords of building a successful talent pipeline, and about how to move into more proactive recruitment, and how companies are moving from being traditional into more strategic level. Then we're going to talk about how to set yourself up for success by laying the foundations, by forming the foundations and the basics. Then we're going to talk about how to build a strong and solid, clear pipeline process, and who should be involved in creating these processes. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about social recruiting. So how you can find new leads, and how you can build a long-term relationship, and why it's important. It's not cooperating. All right. I'm pretty sure that most of the people in this room today are aware of what is talent pipeline. It's just like a buzzword in the talent acquisition industry these days. But let me just refresh your memory and refresh my memory again about what is talent pipeline. So this is a very basic definition of what is talent pipeline. So it refers to an organization's ongoing need to have a pool of talent that is readily available to fill positions at all levels of management, as well as other key positions as the company grows. So in a nutshell, we're talking about having a pool of talent that are readily available, and they want to move in and work for your company whenever you ask them to. So with this basic definition, let me just talk about how to set yourself up for success. Well, basically, the first thing that we need to do in order to be successful is to know what are your priorities, what are the goals that I need to achieve, and then maybe you can figure out what are your talent, your talent acquisition priorities, and then you need to know what is the organization goals and priorities. And for you as a smart talent acquisition leaders, you need to know how to align these two priorities together in order to achieve the whole goal. So the question that comes to my mind now, and I need you to question yourself as well, what are your top talent acquisition priorities? Do you know them? Are your team aware of these as well? So how many people here in this room, they are aware of what are the talent acquisition priorities for them? Great, excellent. So the reason I asked you this actually because I wanted to show you a research that LinkedIn has done on a global level that shows that talent acquisition leaders are considering talent pipeline as one of their 5 top priority list. So if you look at the list of the top 5 priorities, they were all merely around recruiting, sourcing highly skilled talent. In second place comes improving quality of hires, so more of quality focused rather than quantity. Number 3 was about employer brand, how to have a defined employer branding, and how to make sure that we have this brand set in in front of the right people, so they are aware of that and keep engaging with it. Number 4 was pipelining talent, and number 5 was improving sourcing techniques, and moving their team into more world-class recruiters. So the question here, if you were these talent acquisition leaders, which of the following choices would you consider to be the most important and the least important areas of interest for your organization? So it's worth actually questioning. So is there anyone who can just stand up and tell us, if you were a acquisition leader, how would you put this in order for you? I'll take this as a no. All right. However, it's just a way of I just want you really to think of how important for you to have your priorities in front of you, your goals and objectives, in order and then set a plan, put a plan in place in order to achieve these. All right. So in order actually so we're talking about some priorities, objectives, goals that need to be discovered. So in order to achieve these goals and objectives, I would like actually to introduce you to a maturity level that LinkedIn has created. So looking at the maturity level, you will be able to tell where your organization is standing today. So this is very important. You need to understand how are you as a talent acquisition team member or department mature, basically. So which level of maturity are you in today? So the first one is traditional. The second one is developing stage. The third one is foundational. And the fourth one is strategic. So this is a maturity level that LinkedIn has created that talks about how talent acquisitions are mature, and they are comparing them together. So this is where actually companies, most of our companies, the companies actually in the world today are moving from traditional level into more strategic level. And this is where they start actually personalizing their jobs and targeting, having like a segmentation for their talents and targeting a specific audience. And this is where they start thinking of the value of having an employer brand that is defined and is being set in front of the right people. And this is where they start actually arming their team with the right pool of talent and source. And this is where they start actually moving from being reactive into more proactive. So in terms of sourcing, if you look at the companies in traditional stage, this is where people, in terms of sourcing, this is where people are reactive. And they're over-reliant on agencies, so they spend a lot of money with agencies. Look at the companies in developing, this is where they start having an internal capabilities. So they have like a team that is hiring for the company. So they're less reliant on agencies than the ones in the traditional. Looking at the foundational companies, this is where they have a dedicated sources in their team that is building talent pipeline for them all the time. Moving forward a little bit to a strategic, this is where they have all the team as sources. So like they are sourceful recruiters, they are building talent pipeline all the time, and they have a defined talent pipeline process in place. In terms of jobs, this is where the companies in the traditional level, they post what we call it post and pray. So they post and pray and wait for the people to apply. Moving to the companies in developing, this is where they start actually posting their jobs in very selective and niche job boards and social platforms. Moving a little bit into foundational, this is where companies start actually targeting a specific audience. So they start to run recruitment ads, campaigns, and so on. Moving into the strategic, this is where they have a clear and defined segmentations for their talents, and they know which are the markets, and they are personalizing all the jobs for their talents. So speaking about the brand, this is where companies are moving from having absolutely nothing into understanding, a full understanding of the importance of having a defined employer value proposition. All right, so this is the companies in developing stage. This it's, I would call it, it's like a research stage. So they're just collecting information about what is our culture should look like, our values should look like, how we should be seen as a company. And the companies in the foundational, this is where they start having a defined employer brand strategy. So they have it in place, and they start investing in marketing and promoting this brand among the professionals. Which ultimately, this brand actually will be very influential. People will engage with this brand by default, automatically, and they will start, following you, following your news, and you create, this brand will create the interest for them to be hired in your company as well. So if we're talking about matrix, this is when companies are moving from absolutely having nothing, even in the traditional or developing, into establishing metrics and benchmarks, objective plan. So they have all the information, and they will understand that okay, this is very important. So data very important. Let's just collect all the information, connect it together in order to have the right tools to run reports and look at our data. So basically, with keep doing this, this is where companies will move more into a strategic level, where all the decisions they will make now or in the future will be based on data. So if you have the right data, you will be able to make the right choice. So it's very important for you as talent acquisition leaders in this room, or recruiters in this room, you should know where your organization is standing today. So basically, most of our clients of LinkedIn, they fall under the developing stage. So they start with us under the developing stage. And as they use LinkedIn more, as they use the full corporate solutions that we have, they will be moving forward into foundational and strategic. And this is why actually it's so important for you to move more into the strategic level, because being a strategic means that you are being proactive. You're not being reactive. So means that you will reduce cost per hire, you will reduce time per hire, and you will be quality focused, and then eventually you will have a proactive pipeline-based process in place. So it's very important for you to sit with your team and give them input. So it's very important as well to give your team, your talent acquisition team, a full visibility and transparency to your headcount plan. Whether it's new hires that need to be made, or whether it's in any potential risk in the business due to high attrition roles or hard to fill roles, internal mobility, succession plan, or any potential business comment due to new projects, or maybe your organization is opening new offices in some markets, or any particular movement in the campus and hiring students. So it's very important for you to keep them involved on a high level, so they need to know what are your priorities. And it's very important for you as well, as a talent acquisition leader, to have a strong relationship with your business partner. So this should be strong, this should be clear. You need to understand their priorities and their goals, and they need to understand yours in order to meet, for you and for them to meet halfway and set a plan where you will be able to achieve your goals as an organization. So now let's talk about how to build a solid pipeline process and who should be involved in creating this process. So again, I will emphasize that you should keep your team involved all the time in creating this process. They need to understand actually what are the right tools and functionalities that are needed. They need to understand and get involved as well in creating your talent acquisition process from acquire to hire as well. However, we have 4 tools. I'm going to speak about 4 tools that are needed, 4 functionalities are needed in order to build a strong talent pipeline. So number 1 is project. Project is a place where you save all the activities that you do when searching for a talent on LinkedIn. So you can create projects based according to the positions that you need to fill. And it's very important for you to create information as well as use naming conventions. So make sure that you name your projects after the job title, country, city, and the recruiter that is working on filling the position. So for example, I can call a project Financial Controller, UAE, Dubai, and Dawood as the recruiter who is working on filling this. Number 2 is tags. So tags are skill sets, or it could be keywords that are used that are being used actually to label the profiles that you find on LinkedIn. In order to easily find these profiles later on using our search functionality. So it's very important for you again to sit as an A team together, and agree on what kind of tags that we want to have in place, or predefined tags in the system, and make sure that you create no more than 5 tags per role, because you just need to keep things organized and create uniformity as well. Number 3 is source. So source actually are the source that you're using, because at the end of the day, you need to keep track of all the sources for every candidate that you find, all the data that you have. And why it's important for you to have all the sources actually on LinkedIn? Because, again, going back again to Dawood's point where he was talking about how to have the metrics or the right tools to run the reports in order to have the right decision. Let's imagine this. We have all the sources and we are tagging or we are changing the sources actually for all the candidates that we have on LinkedIn. Whether you find them on LinkedIn, whether you imported the data that you have from inside to Recruiter. And then at the end of the year, we are running a report about our sources, and we want to know where to invest our money. So running a report on sources will help you to understand which source is bringing you candidates the most. So you, as a marketing acquisition leader, you'll be able to make the right decision, and you know where to put your money next year. Number 4 is status. So status, as Dawood was saying as well, these are the status that you usually use for your recruitment process. So you can set them, you can create them in Recruiter, and these status actually will help you to keep track of all the candidates, as they go through your recruitment process. All right. So with this, just will help you actually to keep track of them, and will help you to give you an overview about how healthy is your recruitment process. So as Dawood was saying, you have this X number of people who are contacted, screened, interviewed, and so on. All right. So looking at this report, or running at this report, and looking at this, you'll be able to know how healthy is your recruitment process. Do you have any questions so far? No questions? All right. So let me just show you how this can be used actually from inside Recruiter. I'm just going to go through this very quick. So let's say, for example, you have found Wesley on LinkedIn, and this is how the profile looks from inside. I'm pretty sure that most of you are aware of this. So this area is where you can actually change the source of the candidate. So you can say whether it's LinkedIn, job fair, or any job portal, for example. And this is where you can actually tag and label the profile with your keywords or the skills in order to later on to find them very quickly. And around this area, this is where you can save Wesley into a specific project that you have already created, or you can create one and save it inside. And this is also where you can actually change the status of Wesley. So you can save in a project and you can say, he's a future prospect. If you have contacted Wesley, you can change it into contacted. If he's hired, you can change it into hired. If he's not hired, you can change it to he's not hired or declined. All right, so we talked about how to build a strong a process. We know what are the right tools. So how about actually the workflow? What actually makes an efficient workflow for building the pipeline? So basically we have 3 scenarios that I'm going to walk you through. So the first one is prospecting, the second one is developing, and the third one is sourcing. So speaking about prospecting, before actually, before I talk about prospecting, I just need you to step back a little bit and do, a research about your market first. So you need to know, where are your talents? You need to know which markets that we need to go and get talents from. You need to know what motivates these talents and how to create, a mutual interest between you and them. And then once you know that, you need to arm yourself with the right pool of talent. And once you do that, this is where you'll be able actually to start, search. So you do the search, and then you refine the search using our functionalities in order to to get to relevant results, and then you can organize the profiles. So this is where you can save them into projects. This is where you can add tags, change status, and so on. So in a way or another, this is not a stage where you reach out to candidates. This is more into a research or prospecting stage. Developing this is where you actually start reaching out to candidates. So this is basically where you start reaching out to them by email or by email or by phone. You create an interest, mutual interest between you and them, and this is where you ultimately or eventually close them as hired. So if you close them as hired, that's excellent, well done. If not, let's say for example, they said, you offered them a career opportunity, and they said, thank you very much. I love your brand, I love your company, I want to work for it, but I don't think this job is suitable for me at the moment. So you should ask them why. So they come back to you and say, this is not suitable because I have an assessment that I'm working on, and I won't be available until the next month. You say, okay, excellent. So this is the type of people that you need to keep, in your talent pipeline. So this is where you start, reorganizing the profile from the beginning. So you change the status, you put the right reminder in order to put him back later on, and hopefully create see if he's still interested and close him as hired. The third scenario is sourcing, and this is where you actually start sourcing from your talent pipeline. This is where you start sourcing from the people that you have already touched base with. This is where you start sourcing from the people that you have already built relationship with. So these are the people that you have built relationship. You know that they're interested. The interest is there, and they want to make a move as soon as you ask them to. So ultimately, I think everyone in this room will agree on this. Ultimately, the ultimate dream actually here today is to have a pool of talent that you as a recruiter know. They know you, they know your brand, and they are so engaged, they're interested, and they will be available and ready to move when you ask them to. Didn't you agree? Yeah? Okay. So how good, is, it's just so good to be true, actually, to have, this is in place, to be honest. If you have a talented pool that is ready to move when you ask them to, that would just save a lot of time. So just think of it this way. This is something that is doable, and this is something that you can do. All right, so that will actually touch base on the check-in feature that we have. But just in case, if you would like to pipeline for students and you want to do any particular group, with campus, this is where you can use our check-in functionality. So even students, you can just go to the job fairs using check-in, and they will be by default inside your recruiters in the right project with the right tags, and most importantly, they will be warm because the system will be sending them an email after they submit the information. This is an email that you can customize basically, and you can say thank you very much for your information. We will be touch base with you shortly. All right, so it's so important to keep them as well warm and engaged. So now I would like to talk more about social recruitment, and I'm going to talk about actually candidates' relationship management and how you can manage this relationship with the candidates. So let me just explain what is social recruiting and what do I mean by actually candidate management relationship. So basically, it's continuously and systematically build relations with potential employees, current employees, and alumni with the goal of identifying and creating mutual opportunities. So looking at this basic definition of the candidate management, or the candidate relationship management, or the social recruiting, this goes further and beyond touching base with only candidates. This actually goes beyond touching base with candidates. It talks about employees, current employees, it talks about potential candidates, it talks about alumni as well. So, look at these pictures. So what type of recruiters are you today? What type of talent acquisition department are you today? Are you more into like Lucky Luke, who's being reactive, who's just hunt per job opening, and he selects for a job opening, or are you more like Bob the Builder, who is, being proactive? He's building and having actually a clear actually value proposition in place. He wants to engage actually, the professional out there, and he wants to build a relationship with, and he wants actually to use their, his own employees as an ambassador, not only for the people to come and work for your company. It's about actually reflecting the good image and the brand of your company outside of your company as well. And also, he shares knowledge and opportunities by adding value to the people inside the tenant pipeline. So speaking about add value, there are actually different types of candidates that require different types of engagement. All right, I'm going to walk you through them very quick. The first, I don't know why it's not cooperating. All right, so the first actually type is the interested people. All right, so the interested people are people that you have maybe just met at the event. Let's just imagine this. Some people that you have already met at an event, career fair, or people that you don't really have a relationship with. So people that you don't know. So these require actually low level of engagement. So you need actually to keep them warm, and you need to keep them engaged with your brand. And you can do this actually via, you can do this actually via newsletter, or you can do this actually via social media updates. The second type is the hot leads. And the hot leads actually, they could be followers of your company page on LinkedIn, and they could be actually some people who have subscribed to your corporate website. So these people actually require a medium level of engagement. These people are already, engaged with your brand. They know you, they're interested, and you know for a fact that they're interested because they're following your company anyway. So maybe they're interested in knowing updates or news about your company, or maybe to get hired actually at your company. So these require an engagement with you, and the goal of your engagement here is to make them make an action and make a move to get hired. All right. So this is where you can actually reach out to these candidates via newsletters, or you can reach out to them via social media updates, or sending them an email. The third one is could be applicants or silver medalists. And what I mean by silver medalists, by the way, who are the people who could not, or the candidates who could not make it to the job because there was someone who was slightly better than them. So, and also employees and alumni. All right. So these type of people, they require actually high level of engagement. All right. These are the people that you need to basically build relationship, because this actually takes really effort, and needs high level of engagement with them all the time. So not only contact them actually via newsletter or social media updates, you need actually to reach out to them in person. So you send them a personalized email, messages, or so. So let me just show you very quick how you can use, how you can build a relationship with members on LinkedIn.com using LinkedIn Recruiter. So Wesley is being our friend today for the second time. So for example, if you search, if you've done a search and you found Wesley, and you think that Wesley is a good candidate for a position that will be opening in December. So if you look at this area, so this is where actually you can organize yourself, and this is where you can remind yourself. So you can, here's what you can do. You can write a reminder. This is the reminder functionality. So you can write your note, and you can say, check up and see how Wesley is doing. He's a potential candidate for X. Call him in December, for example. And the second thing that you need to do is just to save it, put it as a reminder, and save it. Okay, and then it's saved in your system. The second thing that you can do as well, in order to keep engaged, and if you want to know what he's up to, and you want to know when is the right time to reach out to Wesley, if you don't want to save the reminders, for example, is update me. So update me is very great functionality that we have on LinkedIn today. Keywords, or changing the job title, industry, or place. So with update me, this is where you'll be able to know, yeah, okay, so Wesley has done a change on his particular profile. So maybe this is the right time actually to go and reach out to him. Excellent. So we have saved, this, the reminder. And a few months later, let me just show you how it looks inside Recruiter. You have a smart to-do list. So you will get a notification with, under this, and this is where you can see your reminder. So I would like to conclude my message with 3 keys actually to success for pipelining and proactive recruitment. So the first one is set yourself up for success. You need to have this mentality. You need to say that I want to set myself up for success, and I want to set my talent acquisition department up for success, and ultimately I want to set my organization up for success. So you need to lay out the foundation and the basic. You need to achieve them. You need to know, what are your priorities. You need to know what are your objectives, business objectives. You need to align them together, set action and put an action in place, and start achieving them. The second thing, build a solid pipeline process. So you need to know, you need to do 2 things. You need to know what are the tools, the functionalities that are needed. You need to make them clear to understand, and you need to make your team involved in creating this. And you need to make even the business partners, aware of, the recruitment process that you have. And last but not least, you need not to forget about, always build your relationship. Always find new leads and build a relationship. Try not to be, a traditional. Get social. Go out there. See candidates. Build relationships with them. So with this, I'm wondering if you guys have any questions. So do you have any questions before we end the session today? Please, can we have a mic, please?
Thank you very much. I just would like to ask about the update, where exactly you contact the person so that you know whether the person updated the profile. So can you take us through that again, if you mind?
Yeah, would you like me to talk about again about?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, definitely. Well, basically, if you just go to the profile of any candidate or any member on LinkedIn from inside the recruiter, you will be able to see actually a button called update. So basically, if let's say for example you are keen to hire a top talent for this position, and there are maybe 5 people in the market, and because talent people are usually well known in the market. So you're keen to hire them, and you want to hire them. So if you want to know if there is any change that is happening with the profile now, because as I said earlier, people when they start changing their profiles, start adding keywords or something like that on the profile, this means that maybe this is the right time for them to move, or maybe they are thinking of moving, because the way they start actually get more social, networking more and so on. All right, so clicking update me will give you a notification that this has been changed on X profile. So maybe this is the right time just to go and talk. Is it clear?
Yeah, I'll see it on the
You can see what? I'm sorry.
website. The update, for example,
Yeah, you will see it as a notification in your recruiter.